Hey party people, let's go live. We're going live. We're getting on Anchor. As long as I'm here, no one can hurt you. Hey loves, welcome to the podcast. It has been craziness. So this weekend, we'll start by grounding ourselves in our greatness. That's a daily practice. Greatness has to be a part of your daily work. There's greatness in everything that you do. We're trying to shift that belief that you have, that you aren't great. And I know it because there are actually stats. So I'm not just making this up and making you do this based on nothing. Okay, so my great thing from this weekend was I got a bike. I'm telling you, this is life-giving. And at first, really the buying, the helmets, the baskets, trust, it's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of work to find this. And yesterday I was feeling kind of, I can't think of the word, but I was feeling like, why do I value this, right? Like, is this just about an Instagram post? Is this just about having this bike and being this person? And like, isn't that the exact opposite of what we tell everyone? Like, is this bike representing who I am and who I want to become? Is this important, or is it just another thing? And that's how I was feeling. And I was struggling with that thought because, I don't want to be a hypocrite if, like, I'm telling you, get rid of your stuff because your stuff doesn't represent you. And I think for me, the bike isn't about having stuff. It's about kind of reconnecting myself to who I used to be, right? Because bike riding so much was a piece of who I was and how I found spirit. So I wanted to feel that again. But it also is about wanting to reconnect, but also wanting to live out this idea of who I'm supposed to be, right? That's a heavy load to lift there. But I think, I never just envisioned myself living out in this one way that everyone else did. And so it's fun for me to have a bike, to have that be the main portion of transportation, to walk. These are things that I enjoy doing. And they're also things that I didn't take time to value, that I wanted to do that, right? And I had always kind of been like, yeah, it'd be cool, but who has time to do that? Who can do that? Who can ride bikes? And my life just sort of self-halted, because I just realized that that I had these values, that I had these things that I wanted, but I wasn't putting any of my time towards getting those things. They were just things. And so I would fill the entirety of my life with things that semi-represented what I wanted, right? And kind of gave me that feeling or that want or that urge. And as long as I could post about it, nobody actually had to know that I didn't read the book, or that I didn't have time to ride a bike, or that I didn't really walk kids to school. That was just one day. And honestly, we kind of sprinted the whole way because I was so stressed out that we would be late. Like, no one knew that side. But the representation of what I was portraying really was enough for everybody else to think about me, right? But not enough for me to actually feel it, to actually do it, to actually live that life. And that was a constant stress and a constant drainer. And I think so many times that's what we do, right? As long as everybody else thinks it's all good, we're good. And for me, this is a huge struggle. And it may be harder for me than most because of my need to show up as the happy person everywhere. And so it's really hard. And I've been working on this more and more this year, in this work, in this season, of really letting myself experience the lows. And really, even with the bike purchase, it was like, we're sitting on this. There was a reason that I didn't buy a bike even when I had found one, because it was just like, is this really what you want, or is this just another thing, right? Why does this have meaning to you? Because it's not just about finding the perfect yellow bike, finding the perfect thing. Like, what is the purpose? And, all that groundwork, all that thought work really didn't hold a lot of substance. And then last night, my 7-year-old and I went out on a bike ride, and she was just like, Mom, this is my dream life too. I always want to go on a bike ride with you. I always have. This is the dream life, right? And, you think about that, and me as a kid, that probably would have been mine too. Like, we didn't talk, we didn't do anything all that spectacular, but she enjoys riding her bike so much. And it took me kind of pulling back the reins and wanting to experience that with her too. And it was amazing. It was amazing. She smiled the entire time, and so did I. I'm a little sore in different places that I didn't expect today, and we didn't even go on that long of a bike ride. But, I think give in. Give in. Do more of the things that you want to do. And we're going to get into why and how society has really shifted us to this new place where we don't really think about actually experiencing it, right? And so that's my great thing. I got a bike. I need to post pictures of it. I just haven't yet. But trust, it's beautiful. It's yellow. It's a cruiser. I have the most amazing basket because I was like, fine, if we have to buy a basket, because this bike that's actually my size doesn't come with a basket, so we have to buy a basket. And you know me. It was paining me to think that I would have to pay $20 for a basket, right? And then my cost of my bike goes up at Walmart. And so I'm like, I can't, you know what? If this is meant to be, I'll find the perfect basket. And OMG, I found the cutest basket for the front of the bike. And then I'm like, okay, I really want a basket for the back. And me and my friend ended up just heading over to Goodwill, and I found the most beautiful handcrafted picnic basket, which actually had the original owner's name etched in the top as if it was like belonging to every 1950s church picnic that ever existed. And it's so beautiful. And I'm still figuring out how I want to connect it, because in my vision of what this will look like, I'll ride my bike to some farmers markets and I'll take my basket off and we'll go shop at the farmers market. But that may not be possible because I don't quite know how I'm going to connect it, but trust thinking through it. The basket, so beautiful. I don't want to ruin the craftsmanship. And so that's why there's so much delicateness that's going into thinking through how we connect this. So that's my great thing. Go ahead and take time for yourself today to ground yourself in your greatness. Write it down, say it out loud, think it, whatever. Okay. The importance is that we start practicing greatness in every day. So then we can aspire that. So I watched this TED Talk this morning on depression. And the reason being is that here I am, trying to pretend for a majority of my life that I wasn't depressed. And I actually remember probably about a year before I started this podcast. So it would have been around my 30s. I remember going to my doctor and being like, I'm not sad. I just feel anxious, or like there are weeks of time where I'm just really mad and I think it's hormonal and I think it's, all the things, but like, I don't want to feel this way. And I don't really understand what that is for me, why this keeps happening. I don't get it because I'm perfectly happy a majority of the time. But then there are just these spans of time where I literally could burn every building down and just walk away. I'm not going to do that, but you should know that that's the depths, right? And the bigger problem was that I was so happy 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it was for that month, that when I would go into these lows, I would just be like, what? Why? What is going on? Who is this person? I don't even know her. And then I would start to get mad at myself. Like, you're so bad for feeling this way. You shouldn't feel this low. This is gross. Only people who sit on their couches all day feel like this. You're pathetic. Why do you only want to sit on your couch? Why can't you get up and work out? Why don't you just read the damn book? Why are you so terrible? Your life is perfectly fine. Stop bitching. Shut up. Get over it. Move on. Stop crying. Don't yell. Keep moving. Stop being anxious. Stop. Right? And I'd be saying these things to myself. And I'd be so consumed by anger with myself for being depressed. And when I showed up to that doctor that day, I'm explaining this, and she goes, we all get sad. We do. And let's just put you on something that's going to balance you out just for those couple of times. I can get you something. We can balance you out. And I remember just being like, first and foremost, I worked in healthcare and I worked very closely with physicians and providers. And so I knew firsthand what the review of that patient's chart looked like. And this is very sad, but the things that were said about people who had those meds on their chart. And since I came from that world, it was really hard. It would be hard for me, especially because I worked with these people and I knew the conversations that they were having about people who were on medicines like this, right? Which is pretty demonic if you think about it. And I didn't want to be labeled as that. And I definitely didn't want me to, fall off a bike, hurt my knee, have to go to the ortho doc that I knew, and then him find out that I'm on these meds, then have conversations with people I worked with that I was on these meds, because HIPAA doesn't really exist in small towns or small communities, just so all of you know. Sorry. It's real. Okay. But then there would be these deeper discussions of like, oh, Hannah's depressed. She's on gosh, I can't even remember what was going to be prescribed to me. But, I was only supposed to use it a couple of days. And I just knew myself well enough at that point, and I didn't even know that much about myself, but I knew that if there was a way to save myself from feeling down, I would pop it, because I hate the pain of feeling sadness. I hate it. And at that point, I didn't realize why I hated it so much, why I wanted to transition out of that place so badly. And I didn't realize that me not being healthy was transitioning out without feeling the pain. And so that was hard for me. And so I tell her, because of what I knew about the kind of back labels that go with those meds, I say, you know what? I'm going to try to figure this out on my own. I'm going to try to figure out where this sadness is coming from, or this anger, on my own. And she's like, good for you. Yeah. You know what? I'll keep this in my notes that we talked about it. So if you don't figure it out, which in her head, she's going, you're not going to figure this out. You can't figure this out. Stop being dumb. Just take the meds. Like, I talked to enough suburban, overworked, overstressed moms to know that you're not coming back from this, okay? But it's cute that you want to try. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it in your chart that we discussed it. And all you have to do is call me back. Call me and I'll just get the script written for you and I'll send it in, okay? Or you know what? I could just send the script in. I won't know if you pick it up or not, but I could just send it in. Okay? I don't want you to hurt, right? And I just knew that was just going to be a slippery slope for me. I knew it. And so I decide, no, I'm not going to fill that script for all the reasons that I just told you. One, I don't want people in my workplace to know that I'm on these meds, and I know that they'll find out, and I know what comes with that stereotype. Like, there's a stigma, and I don't want that assigned to me. And I don't want it assigned to me forever. Like, literally, healthcare systems, can you figure this out? I am not still taking albuterol that I took in high school because I had bronchitis. Like, can you get that off of my freaking health record? Can we not verify that I'm not on it every time I come into the doctor's office? Like, I'm going to lose my mind a little bit, okay? And so I knew that if this med appears on my chart anywhere, it's never going away. And that stigma will stick with me forever and quite possibly inform and change the way that physicians, nurses, healthcare providers react to me from there on out. Yeah, it's a real thing. It really is. And so I just didn't want it. So I refused the medicine. I refused the treatment. I'm sure it's still on a chart somewhere, but I never got prescribed that. And that was important to me. And some people need that 100%. I was committed to figuring it out. And I really felt like a majority of it, if I could just sit with it, a majority of it was me punishing myself for feeling this way. And I don't think that I ever recognized that my body was reacting to the world, to where I had placed myself into the world, to the things that I was valuing, right? That's what it was reacting to. The anxiety was from me feeling like the jig would be up every single day. Feeling like if one person asked something, they would figure out that I was a fraud and then it would all come undone, right? And not dealing with that and consistently, right, moving in this direction, consistently pushing myself to keep up this facade. That's what was causing me anxiety. That's what was causing depression. Depression wasn't happening because I was sad, right? The sadness was a reaction to what I was experiencing in the world because I wasn't experiencing anything and I didn't know anyone and I didn't have time to talk to anyone, and I talked to so many people, but there was no depth there. There were just words. And the depression really came from that. And in the talk, they talk about, in the TED Talk that I listened to, he talked about how we are good at filling those physical needs, right? We have a house, we have food, we have the things that we need to survive. On the value side, right, where depth comes from, we aren't really great at looking at depression or sadness or anxiety as a response to a lack of values, like we are, if we don't have a home, we need a job. There's a prescription there. Since the depth part, since the reaction part, and help me because I'm still kind of processing and thinking about this and how I apply this to my life, but I think for the depression side, we're really quick, or at least I'm really quick to punish myself for that. You're bad. You shouldn't feel this way. Boo-hoo, get over it, get off the couch, stop watching Netflix. And I don't look at it as, oh, you need a break, right? And I'm getting better at this. Oh, your body's asking you for a break. Instead of how I used to react to it, oh my gosh, quit being, you're so lazy. You really just want to sit here and watch Netflix all day? Cool. Oh my gosh. Wow. But you want to build an empire? Okay. Oh, and now you did watch Netflix all day and now you want to do it again tomorrow? Oh, and now you're sad? You feel too sad and too anxious to work on anything? Wow. You're a winner. Cool, right? And then I just go into this cycle of like beating myself even deeper into the ground instead of just giving myself what it's asking for. Because if my body's asking for that, if my mind's asking for that, it's asking for a break. It's not misguiding me down this rabbit hole of sadness. My body is telling me what I need. And the reason that I had to go into the doctor's office and I was asking those questions is because I never gave myself time to understand what my body was asking for. And the second that my body would ask for a break, oh, sister, right? I would just spin out. Like, you're crazy, body. We do not have time for this. And actually, usually, how I would use myself and my talents, generally my response to that would be, you're high, and let's add more stuff so we don't feel like this next month. Right? So we just skip past the sadness because we're too busy to feel it. We can't. We're so structured and there's such a high demand of our time that we aren't allowed to feel this anymore. That's how we're going to get through this. Right? And so after I asked that doctor for that medicine, or after I had asked what I could do, I started to fill my time. I remember asking my boss, and I've said this before on a podcast about something else, but I do remember asking my director, or two above my director, hey, it's better if I just stay busy. So fill. Any job that you have, give me. Any assignment that you have, give me. Anything that you have, please fill my time. I need more. I can't have downtime. Please just fill. And they did that. And for a while, I could trick myself out of feeling feelings. because when you're running at such a fast pace, you can't feel anything at all. And, I think once I started to realize that wasn't a solution either, right? That actually just made me want and feel even sadder, that actually sunk me even lower into a depression when I finally had time to feel it, right? And it's funny because those times would look like when I finally had time to be social. And so I would go to Christmas, or I would go to these things where I finally had time, where there weren't demands, and I would either get super sick, or I would sit there wishing that I was somewhere else the whole time, wishing that I was shopping, wishing that I was eating, wishing that I was doing that next thing that was going to provide some relief from the pain that I was feeling outside of this experience, right? Because it would be painful when I finally allow myself to feel it. And so I would just be trying to escape the whole moment. And that's what it looked like. If I was at a family event, I would be wishing that we were going shopping, or wishing that we were opening presents, or just wishing that we were doing something that wasn't just sitting here feeling these feelings. I couldn't feel these anymore. This hurt. It hurts bad. I can't escape this. I don't even know how to belong in this situation. I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. This feels low and inescapable, and I don't want to be here. And so it wasn't that I didn't want to socialize with people. It was that brought pain, the quietness, the stillness, the inability to feel like I was contributing anything, hurt. And so breaks, vacations, Christmas, holidays, Labor Day weekends, all those things, those would bring up this inescapable silence, and it brought a lot of pain. And so I wouldn't be meaning to not be social. I just didn't even know how to interact with the world when I was in this much pain. And on top of that, then I would just be like, everyone else is happy. Shut up. Stop. 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 Everyone else is happy here. What are you doing? You're so pathetic. Stop being sad. Boo-hoo. And I think now that I'm allowing myself to feel those feelings, I'm so much more capable of transitioning out of those low places. Not that they don't happen. I just had an entire month of really lowness transitioning into this new place. But had I fast forwarded through all of that last month, it would have taken us probably 6 months to be in the place where we are now, where it's like, Hanna, you're sad because you're avoiding people, but you're avoiding people because you're sad, right? Because I don't think that people want me sad. I don't think that people need sad Hanna, right? I don't think she has a place. And transitioning out of that, what I'm finding is that people love you regardless. They really do. And not everyone may be ready to handle the breadth of who you are as a person, but I promise you someone is. And this podcast is titled Don't Do This Alone because that's what we're creating. That's the type of community that we're creating here with The Death of a Dream. It's the full embrace of who you are as a person, as a whole person, right? We don't just want you when you're super happy and doing awesome on Instagram and posting all the things. We want you to be a part of this community when you're sad and lonely and depressed, because this community exists so that you don't have to go through that stuff alone, right? Because your friends may not be able to take on that depth with you yet, right? But our community can, because it is an open, welcoming place where you can belong, where you can voice those sadness, where you can voice that you've sat watching Netflix for 3 days and you can't understand why you're so sad and why you don't want to participate in the world. And we'll talk through that. Go ahead, post it on our private Facebook community. Let's talk through it, right? Because my rescue was this podcast. My rescue was doing this work. That gave me depth. That gave me meaning. And so what is that for you? What could that look like? So join that community. That's on Facebook. Just search The Death of a Dream. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Bum, bum, bum.